No, it was weird. Like, having to talk about a year in review is a lot once you actually like, oh shit, what happened this year? I'm grateful for a lot though. And I think what I thought 2020 was going to be was not how it turned out. I think, at the top of the year, I was realizing I'm an entrepreneur. I'm paying myself. I have to do what I need to do. And I was in a position I've never been in before. Like, I don't work for nobody. I work for myself. What does self do, And it was one of the most scariest places I've been. I was so unsure of myself. And it was weird because I had a lot of people around me that was very sure of me and that I was able to do it. One person, which is my boyfriend, Carlos. Carlos really knew that I had everything in me to be successful. But the same vision he had for me, I didn't have myself. So the whole time I was freaking out. So, I had this idea of 2020 being COVIDless, obviously, but being able to connect with people in a different way. And when everything took a turn in February and March, we started to see things boiling up, but we had no clue it was going to be like this. That's when I knew I had all that I needed within me to get through the hardest of times. And it was scary. And I think a lot of people were scared. I think a lot of people were unsure about how they were going to manage. We were faced with so many different realities. Life is short. Where's your health? Where's your mind? Mentally, where are you at? And I think all these things came to head once COVID really hit our country. When we realized COVID hit our country, I think COVID was here months before then, and we just didn't know. And it took me a couple of weeks. I didn't have a website. I got shut down in February, which was like, whoa. No, the payment processor didn't support cannabis, and they just took me right off. A quick audit, didn't have 24 hours. They held my funds. They said, figure it out, but you can't be here no more. And that was really diminishing. I felt that, I picked a cannabis industry, and I'm like, I really fucked up for myself because I don't know a lot about this space. And here I am by myself, no website, no business. And I had to figure it out with no mentorship. I didn't have anyone I could really go to ask questions to that I felt that I could trust. So, it took 8 weeks for me to get my website back. And it was very serendipitous that when everything was taking a turn and anxiety went up and there were so many questions on how we were going to get by, my website, my product was available to service people and just help calm them and relieve them. So that is one of the most important things that I had this year, was that I was able to provide some sense of calm for people. But I still had no idea how I was going to get through it because I wasn't checking in. I was just on auto mode. Like, okay, I have my business. Okay, I have a home and I'm here and I'm safe and I have to get my product and I have to get my product out to people. I never really checked in with myself. I never really rested. And that's what I was selling the whole time. I was selling calm, right? But I think in June, when a lot of things were going up, like Ahmaud Arbery was murdered, Breonna, George Floyd, riots left and right, Black Lives Matter was on the forefront, and it was a lot more focused on Black-owned businesses, and it's appreciated. But I felt guilty. Like, I felt weird that I was thriving where a lot of people were not. And it hit me hard. I remember one day I was going over the Williamsburg Bridge. I was helping my uncle that day with his business, and I had 20 some odd packages I had to ship out. And as I'm going over the bridge, it was getting shut down at the same time on one end that I was going towards. And I'm seeing all over Citizens app, like, there's a riot on every bridge. They're shutting every bridge down. And immediately I felt like my eyes were bulging out and the road in front of me got very small and long, and I wasn't moving. I was having a real panic attack. And I was probably in my 3rd week of therapy at that point because I knew I needed something to help me get through these moments. And that realization that I was not really resting, I wasn't taking time for myself, I wasn't really thinking about myself at all. I was removing and denying the fact that I missed my family, that I needed more attention, that I needed more downtime. It didn't hit me until that panic attack. And I had a real taste of some of the things that my customers were going through. And it's weird because I did think I was going to die. But in hindsight, now I'm like, I appreciated the fact that I went through that, because now I know how it feels. Now I know how to answer to it. If someone says I have panic attacks, I have anxiety, I can answer to it. I can help them through, because I helped myself through it with therapy and CBD. But that was the breaking point of like, oh my God, 2020, you're such a bitch. 2020 is such a bully bitch. And it took so much away from us, but it also added a lot to us. I think that before 2020, a lot of us didn't realize that we needed to be more in tune with ourselves. We needed to love more on each other and ourselves. And we realized what was more important. I think family, way more important than it was to me before. I felt that I didn't really have much connection to the understanding of what family meant until they were taken from me or separated from me for long periods of time. That was really rough. Understanding communication and balance in relationships, that's something that we didn't think about before. And taking time to do the things that we actually say we want to do. I think a lot of people took the time to do that. Like this podcast, I've always wanted to create some type of platform where we could talk to one another. We could talk about ideas and solutions. Because I feel like a lot of people talk about issues. Like, wow, the Black community doesn't come together, or, women do X, Y, and Z. But we never really talk about solutions or how people are actually doing what they say they're doing. And, if you would have asked me, where do you see yourself in 3 years ago, I would not have been able to imagine this space that I'm in now. And I think it really just took me saying to myself, okay, you want to do something? Do it. Pull up. Put the money down. Put your money where your mouth is. And I think it's so rewarding to know that I'm capable. Know that I could pull up for myself, know that I could bet on myself. And it's super rewarding to see what happens when you do something like that. It might be small in the beginning, but it's going to build up in the end, and having faith in that is so big. I also feel like taking a pause is so important, just in anything. We can be rolling and ripping and running, and we're doing things and we're feeling good. But taking a pause to actually reflect and celebrate, even if it's just with yourself, is a big thing. I look back at the year of Noirebud, and the beginning was so unstable. Like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I didn't know how I was going to conduct my business. I didn't know any of the answers to any of the questions that I had. All I knew is that I knew how to innately create formulas that could help people, help heal people, right? No, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a chemist, but I know I'm a natural healer. And I look back at the year one. It's year one technically for Noirebud. And I have to say, I am super proud of the idea that came to reality. I'm super proud of the relationships I cultivated with my customers. I'm super proud of the products that I've made, the mentions, Beyonce, Martha Stewart, New York Times, all in 1 year. Self magazine, Shape magazine. And this is a funny thing. When I was working in wellness and fitness as a operational manager, I was really proud of the things that I was doing in those spaces. I was really proud of the teams that I had under my belt, and they were my family. And I get a little emotional thinking about these things, because my last position in fitness, it's hard to talk about because legally some things I really can't talk about, but I was booted out of a space that I put my blood, sweat, and tears into. I cared so much about that space that I built for someone else in their dream that I don't think to this day they still don't understand it. And, it was a popular space, And a lot of those media outlets that I just mentioned Noirebud, came in and throughout that space numerous times. And it's so wild because no one ever asked to interview me or to ask how it was done. I was never featured in any of those things. And when I got booted out of that space, I was crushed because it was a part of me, right? You create, you birth a baby, you raise it, you give all the tools, and then the baby turns its back on you once they're older, right? And that's kind of how I felt, like a mama lost her baby and the baby doesn't care at all about the mom. That's how I kind of felt when I got fired. And, I was so resentful. I went into some spirals after that. I think when anyone puts a lot of faith into a space that they work for and they get fired or let go, it's a lot of emotional connection that's ripped away from them when it happens. And I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this, but it was traumatizing when I got let go. And this year in reflection was like a big realization that one, don't depend on your job to really love and be emotionally connected to you and never turn that back on you. Never assume that that's not going to happen. You're just a number. But also you are capable of so much more than working for someone else's dream and not getting the benefit or the credit that's due to you. This year, all the accomplishments that I made were the same accomplishments that one entire brick and mortar got, with numerous people supporting it and showing face for it. So I have to say this year was a very big gift to me as a person, as a human, because I see what I'm capable of, but also like God got you. And I can't, and I don't want to get into much more detail about it, but I'm very proud of who I am. I'm very proud of my company. I have a lot of ideas for it. I know it's going to grow and it's going to be able to hire so many more people, be responsible for people, and make them feel valued. And I want to give back to the community in bigger ways than I did this year, because we were able to donate to Feeding America, to Trans Lives, to bailing folks out that were arrested during the protests. I wasn't out in these streets because I was in here making the product, but my money was. My customers' money was. That's what matters to me. So I want to scale that even higher for the next season, for the next year, is to give back to the community that created me and also has taken a lot of hit for being a part of the cannabis space. So I have to say I'm proud of NoireTalk too. It's only been a couple of sessions so far, but I feel like there's a lot of conversations that are going to be had that are going to be able to help people get through whatever dark moment or season or block that they're having. And that is the intent. It is to break whatever block you have, because I went through blocks for 10 years. My entire 20s was just a major block. I knew I had something in me and I didn't know how to bring it out. I had so many intentions. I had so many ideas, and I just kept myself back. And it all took for me to just show up and force myself into it. And I want NoireTalk, I want Noirebud product to help people be themselves even more, to just break the block that's keeping them. And I think that's my purpose. There's a lot more purpose for me to fulfill, but that's my main purpose, is to help people break the block, because I know exactly how it feels to be behind it. So I want to thank my customers, my Noirebud Bud gang, because they are my light and energy. I want to thank my family for supporting me from afar, because it was so hard not seeing and smelling and hugging on them all year. I want to thank my boyfriend Carlos, because he's a major factor into the fact that I realized I could be an entrepreneur, because he's such a big entrepreneur and risk taker. And God, because without some type of spiritual connection to a higher power or some faith that something better is happening, is going to happen, I wouldn't have gotten through a lot. And I want to thank my therapist also, Karen Reed, because without her, I probably would have had way more panic attacks. I probably would have beat a lot of people up. And a lot of shit would not happen without Karen being able to mentally help me reconstruct and organize my mental filing cabinet of all the things. So I'm grateful for 2020. I'm grateful for the blessings that it's given, the gems and the tools that it's created. And even though it's taken a lot from us too, I think when you lose something, you appreciate it so much more. So I am grateful for the level up of appreciation that 2020 has given. So I hope the same for all of my listeners and watchers. It's nowhere but up from here. And happy holidays.